Fixer family, it's Charmin. Welcome to Fixin' 2. So as I was putting up my Valentine's decor, I realized that I did not have a door hanger. So today's project, I am going to show you how to create this beautiful door hanger using a few Dollar Tree items. So let's get started. Here's the supplies we're going to need for our door hanger. We're going to be using 2 of the heart wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. And we're also going to be using this sign, but not the sign per se. I'm just going to be using a couple of these hearts off of it and a couple of little skewers. And I found this cute little heart pick. This came from the Dollar Tree. And I may or may not use these little metal words here for Valentine's Day. I thought they were super cute. I'm going to be using some of this burlap ribbon and also buffalo check ribbon I had left over from Christmas. So easy enough. We're just going to take a little flathead screwdriver or something to just pry these off. They come off really easy. I didn't want to bend them at all, so I just kind of took my time and eased them off. Went ahead and took all 3 of them off, but I'm only going to be using 2 of them. And I took my skewers with a little bit of my acrylic paint in the color Burnt Umber, and just going to kind of do the paint stain effect on them just to give them a little bit darker color so that they blend well with what I'm going to do with them on the wreath. And so just easily painting them, and then I'll take my paper towel and just wipe off the excess. And then using some hot glue, I'm just going to glue the skewers to the back and leave them long to start with, and once we get ready to use them, then we'll more than likely cut them down. So now I'm sorry you can't really see the wreath forms here, but you will be able to see in just a second when I start putting the ribbon on here and exactly what we're going to do. It blended in really well with my desk, didn't it? So I took a piece of the ribbon, cut about 12 inches. I know I won't use all of it, but I'll cut off the excess. But I wanted to make sure that I had enough. And I'm going to just take, and right here at the bottom point of the heart, I'm going to slide it underneath. And of course we've got it face down. And I slid it on the front side and then just flipped it over one corner, glued it down, and then took and flipped it over on the other corner, and it covers that point really well. And now with the top up here, we're just going to pull that piece of ribbon down, cut off our excess, and then we'll just, of course, take our hot glue and secure that down. And I kind of play with it just to make sure that it's, not pretty centered there. And the piece of paper that I slide under there is just to help keep that hot glue from coming through the ribbon. So now we are ready to go ahead and start wrapping our wreath with the rest of the ribbon. And because it's kind of at an angle here at the bottom, we want to make sure that we're covering. Once you have that piece of ribbon slid up underneath there, we're going to fold it from the inside of the heart wreath down over the top of it. And don't worry about the little flap that you'll see here. That is going to be covered just fine. We just want to make sure that we get it secured onto the wreath to start with, so that we can then begin to wrap the ribbon around it. And it's just super easy. Again, I'm sliding that paper under there to keep from getting glue on my mat. And I'm just going to push that down on there and be super careful. Again, I know I always say this, but I'm using a high temperature hot glue gun, and it definitely has burned me many times. So once you get that secured on there, I'm going to put a little dab of glue towards the bottom as well. Again, just wanting to make sure that that ribbon is secure and it doesn't come loose. So we'll go ahead and make sure that that's on there. And then guys, it's just as simple as starting to wrap, and you want to kind of keep your ribbon pretty uniform as you're going up the form itself. So I cut off just a large section because the spool that it was on really wouldn't fit that well inside it. So you'll see that I'm going to piece it together after we get it to the end of the ribbon. I'll go ahead and secure that with, my hot glue, and then we're just going to go ahead and add some more ribbon to it once we get this good and secured. So I'm taking, of course, and just kind of giving it a little bit of a finished edge. Really, it'll kind of be covered up anyway, so you can cut that extra off if you want to. It's your choice. I just went ahead and folded it in and then secured it down. And as you see, I'm pulling the ribbon underneath again, coming from the inside of the heart, and I'm just going to secure this piece down and finish wrapping it just to where the heart shape point is at the top. Now once we get it up here to the top, we're going to pull it pretty tightly, and it'll make a little bit of kind of like a pleat up there at the top, and that is perfectly fine. We're going to go ahead and wrap it one last time, and it will slightly cover this side of the heart. And the reason that we're going to stop up here is because we've got it's wrapped coming up this one side, and we want to do the same thing with it wrapped from the bottom coming up the other side, so that it looks pretty, symmetrical and uniform. As you can see here, I've got it going one way on this side. We want it to go the same way on the other side. So we're just going to glue this and secure this down, and then of course we'll go back down to the bottom and start again coming up the other side. You'll see that it's starting the exact same way as we did the other one, making sure that it's secured on the inside of the wreath form, and then of course secured on the outside, and just wrapping it around and making sure that it's uniform. And here I didn't quite have enough of my ribbon, but I'm going to do the same thing by just adding a small piece to the top, and we'll get this completed. And then of course we're going to make sure that we do our other heart as well, because we're going to be making that double-hearted door hanger. Now that both of the hearts are completely wrapped with the ribbon, I'm going to show you how we're going to put these together. And of course, taking that curved part of one heart and placing it right there on the straight part of, or should say the straight bottom part of the other one, and it fits really nice there. And we're going to put this piece of ribbon here to help hold it, but it won't be seen because there's going to be a bow right here in this area. And I guess you can say that I secure this 3 different ways, so this thing is not coming apart. And of course, the first thing I'm going to do is put a generous amount of hot glue there, and we're going to just stick that on there, and of course holding it until it pretty much sets. And then we're going to take another piece of our ribbon, kind of putting it underneath the bottom and overlapping it right here on the back, gluing that down, and then pulling it over and gluing the other part. But what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put a little bit of E6000 and our hot glue on here, just to kind of, I guess this is our double coverage to make sure that it stays put, because we do not want this thing coming apart. And really and truly, the last thing that I wound up doing here probably would be good enough, but I wanted to make sure. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that this is good and set, pulling the other piece around, trimming it off, and making sure that, again, with some E6000 and some hot glue. So now we've got it together, and really at this point it's good and secure, but you'll see, like I said, I'll have one more way of making sure. So now we're going to make our bow, and I already made one set of the ribbon for you, but you're going to need 3 of the buffalo check and 3 of the burlap, and they are cut at 24 inches long. Now the one that's already done and this one that I'm going to make, you're basically going to start with your burlap ribbon, overlapping it about 1.5 inches, pulling it there to make sure you get center. Then you'll flip it over and then push in the middle and then down on each side. And I always pull it up to make sure that I'm holding it in the right spot so that my loops are even. Do the same thing again, about 1.5 inches, find center, flip it over, push down in the middle, and then flip back on both sides. Now you'll put both of these pieces side by side, and I've already cut a little piece of wire here. So I just take the wire and go ahead and twist those together. And I try to do it as tight as I can, again making sure that it stays together. So then you'll lay the first ones down one way, and then the second set down on top of it crossways, and then attach it together, and it looks like kind of like a circle. Now with this one, we're going to overlap it about 4 inches. These are going to be making smaller loops, but you're doing the same process. We're going to put that piece of wire to hold it together in the middle. But what we're going to do now, before we put this together with it, we're going to go ahead and get our tails ready. Now I was just kind of measuring to just go a little past the bottom, but I got to the end of this spool, so I said, what the heck, we'll just go ahead and use the whole thing. And so I'm going to use this as kind of like a template to get the piece of my other one here. And we'll just measure that out, and then we'll cut off any excess when we do our dovetails. Now that we have that ready, we are going to grab a zip tie, and we're going to take our smaller loops, we're going to place it in the center of our little circle here, and grabbing our zip tie, we're going to go ahead and attach this together, but we'll flip it over and then add our tails to the bottom before we zip it together. Don't forget your tails, you definitely need those. So we'll go ahead and zip those together, and then we're going to use a second zip tie to zip it or tie it, or however you want to say that, to our hearts. Now I like to take a pair of scissors and just kind of push down on the zip tie and pull it just so that we get a good tight fit. Now you'll see I'm taking the longer zip tie here, and I'm going to thread it in the bottom under that black zip tie that I put on here to pull everything together. And I had to use a pair of needle nose pliers just to kind of help me pull it all the way through. But once you got it in there, now this is the third way that I'm making sure that these hearts do not come apart. So we had the hot glue, and then we had E6000 and hot glue, and now we have a zip tie. So I guarantee you this thing is staying put. I'm so glad. So now you see I'm just coming underneath the bottom here, and I'm just going to go ahead and zip it. And you have to be just a little bit careful about pulling this too tight, because it will kind of bend the wire of the wreath forms themselves. But pull it as tight as you can, and then of course we'll go back in a little bit and cut off that excess. I went ahead and started fluffing the bow some, but I also want to go ahead and let's trim the tails and go ahead and give them their dovetails to really make this look finished here at the bottom, and just kind of choosing how long you want them, and again just kind of fluffing things and making it look good. But of course we've got the finishing touches that we want to do to it, and that's bringing in our galvanized hearts that we put on these skewer sticks, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut them down so that I can go ahead and just glue them into the bow and really finish it off. Now you guys know that I like to dry fit things and kind of find out about where I want to put them and how I think they look the best before I actually glue them down. And I think that that's a good thing to do so that you can see it before you actually make this a more permanent thing. And guys, I am so pleased with the way that this turned out, and it looks so good on my front door. I hope that you guys love this as much as I do. I hope that you guys enjoyed this project as much as I did. And I hope that this inspired you guys to go out, take a few Dollar Tree items and create something amazing, because I know that you can. And of course, if this is the first time that we are meeting, I am so glad that you're here, and consider sticking around and becoming a part of the Fixer family by hitting that subscribe button. We would love to have you. Also, make sure that you have those notification bells rung so that you won't miss a single video. I upload videos every Tuesday and Friday, and I'm so excited that you are here with me. So if no one has told you today, you are incredible. And always remember to keep looking up, because that's where it all is. I'll see you on the next video.